Well, welcome everybody to today's ATS webinar, Operation Import, where Jim DeLessio, our integration specialist here at ATS, is going to show you how to easily import records into iMIS using the Ultimate Spreadsheet Importer. I know this is a challenge for many associations. We have clients who will come with questions. We have 13,000 records in, XYZ system, and we need to figure out how to get those data into iMIS. Today, Jim's going to go ahead and talk to you a little bit about the ATS Ultimate Spreadsheet Importer. We'll answer questions at the end, so just a few items up front. If you have any questions, please go ahead and type them into the questions box within your GoToWebinar window. Also, in the GoToWebinar viewer, if you need to make the screen larger or smaller, you can do that using the Zoom drop-down within the GoToWebinar viewer. Before we get going, I just want to remind you that our webinars are developed based upon feedback from customers and from iMIS users. So if you have suggestions for other webinar topics that you would like us to cover, please go ahead and send those to us. I'll give you more information about that at the end. We will be recording this webinar and posting it on our website at www.atsol.org/webinar, and that is in the chat window of your GoToWebinar toolbox as well. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Jim. I look forward to your session, Jim. Thank you.
Good morning or good afternoon, everybody, depending on where you're living. Like Ben said, my name's Jim DeLessio. I've been at ATS for about 3 years, and let's just get started and get to the meat of the session here. The session's about our Ultimate Spreadsheet Importer. And first we're going to talk about functionality. The functionality of the importer, it allows you to import and update records in iMIS from an Excel spreadsheet. It creates individual and company records. You can update custom demographics. You can also create activity records. The desktop application requires iMIS Business Objects and the .NET 2.0 or better. It also works with iMIS version 10, iMIS 15, and what I didn't put here in the script here, it also works on 20. So any version of iMIS that you have, the spreadsheet importer works with. If you're on a version that we don't have at the moment, we'll create a version for you. It's pretty simple to create a specific version for you. Key features of the Ultimate Spreadsheet Importer. It does extensive duplicate checking based on the setup controls that you put in iMIS. It validates data in the spreadsheet against the iMIS lookup fields. Has user control column matching. You can review matched and unmatched records and export them for review. You can selectively decide which unmatched records to import into iMIS. You can put them all in, or you can just put in selected ones that you know are new records. If you have a couple of items that you're not sure whether or not it's a duplicate record or not, you don't have to check the box to import that record. You can go ahead and do your your due diligence on desktop, make sure that record isn't a duplicate record, and then you can go ahead and import it at a later time afterwards. It provides notes that indicate possible reasons for a match or a non-match, so it'll let you know that they think it's matched based off of the last name and, let's say, your address. It'll let you know that's why it thinks that it was a match. Or if it's not matched, it'll let you know that none of the fields match, or there's only a partial match on one of the fields. You can create activity records for standard or custom activity types. If you're a company that does continuing education and you have activity records for continuing education, and you need to import those records, on a monthly basis, you can go ahead and use the spreadsheet importer for that. There's just a little setup that needs to be done, and we'll go into that portion of it in a second. So the installation of the spreadsheet importer is fairly simple. It's a wizard. As you can see, it's pretty straightforward. The connection setup is all of the information that you have in your the setup table and the setup tab in iMIS Desktop pretty much has all this information except for your SQL password. You'd need your sysadmin to be able to provide that for you. And then we provide the ATS license key in order to use the spreadsheet importer. Then we have security measures that we put. Once you install the spreadsheet importer onto iMIS, you have to create a general lookup validation record called ATS Importer under the access keywords in order for the spreadsheet importer to work. And then you would have to put, or you would need to put this ATS Importer into all of the users that you want to use, that you want to be able to use the spreadsheet importer in their specific record. If you go under user credentials, you go ahead and add it under access keywords here for the ATS importer for them to be able to see, to be able to use the importer. So not everybody can use the importer, only the people that you give access to. Then data access, this is where you add the excess information that you need. If you want to add activity types, or if you want to add information into activity types, you actually need to create this general lookup validation for ATS Importer, and then you would put in each of the activities that you'd like to be able to import into this general lookup validation field. You would do the same thing for demographic tables. If you want to put information or import information at demographic tables, you would put the name of the demographic table in this ATS Importer general lookup validation table. And you'll see, go back here, you want to grab the name under the window designer, not the information that you have like as your header. So you'd want to make sure you're in the UD table itself and looking at the window and get the name from the current window name. We also have, as far as duplicate checks and to give your duplicate checking a more robust feel, there are a couple of other general lookup validation tables that you can create. The first one is the duplicate address strings validation table, and what you would do is you would go ahead and add in the different types of addresses that could be viewed in different ways, like avenue, and on a lot of addresses you just say AVE, or boulevard, BLVD. What this will do is when you put all of these records in, you would only have to put them in once. If you put in avenue and AV, you don't have to go ahead and reciprocate it and do AV and avenue, because the checks in the importer actually use the reciprocal views, so you wouldn't need to set up both sides of it. But what this does is if you put in the spreadsheet importer, you put CIR, and then in iMIS it's circle, it'll be able to match against that and show it as a good record. The next duplicate check field or general validation field that you can put in is the duplicate company strings. And again, you can put as many items as you want or as little items as you want in here. The more that you do put in on these duplicate checks, obviously the more that the importer has to check against, and gives a much more accurate record check and a match, the more information that you put in. So again, it's the same. If you have Inc. for an incorporated, Internet, INTL, International, Limited, LTD, things like that, it will go ahead and search those different checks. And again, it is also reciprocal on this end also. And then the other one, the last one that we have here is for duplicate first names. And again, I won't go through it all, but it's the same principle and the same reciprocation. Okay. Now we get into the kind of the meat and potatoes of it. When you prepare your data, your spreadsheet, the first row in your spreadsheet all must be the column names for the iMIS records that you want to import into. So again, in this particular instance, you've got ID first, middle, last, and a couple of activity types here that you can push in. And then when you are creating a spreadsheet, there are required fields depending on whether or not you're adding individual records or you're adding company records. When you're adding individual records, you need to, in the spreadsheet, at the minimum, put in first name, last name, member type, and status on your spreadsheet. Now, if you have existing records, these fields can be blank in the spreadsheet, but and/or they can even have information in them. If you have an existing record, the system is going to keep the information that's on the existing record so that it doesn't get changed. So if you had a member type of M for member, and you put STU for student in the field on the spreadsheet, it's not going to change the iMIS record to a student member type record. Okay, so any information that's already there in the main portion of the system isn't going to get changed. Same goes for the company records. The company records, you're going to have your company name, your member type, and your status when you're putting in company records. My suggestion would be to not add individual records and company records together. And so what you would do is if you wanted to add information, a company record to somebody's existing record, you would go ahead and put the spreadsheet, when you do add the spreadsheet, you would add the company record information here and then just use the ID number for the individual, and the company records would be added to that individual's record. If they don't have an existing record, what you'd want to do is create the individual record first and then attach the company record to their names. Also, if it's a brand new company record, what you would want to do is add the company itself or the companies themselves on the spreadsheet first, and then add the individuals to that company afterwards. Okay, and then we're going to be logging into the importer. You're going to use the iMIS login and password, your iMIS login and password, or the one that is specified for the importer itself if you create a brand new record that's just for the importer. And you would use your iMIS, again, your iMIS username and password. Then when you get to the portion where you have your spreadsheet, you go ahead and you want to select the import file, grab the spreadsheet that you've created, and once you grab that piece, you want to click on this Match Fields button. It'll go ahead and sync the spreadsheet with the importer, and then it'll ask you to create a matching template so you can map the iMIS fields to the columns in your spreadsheet. You can save these templates if you have, again, like you have the CEU records that you're adding monthly. You can create a template for that, and all those same fields will be used. You pretty much use the same spreadsheet. You'll just have different people and/or different continuing education information that gets added. Once you've gone ahead and added the template here, there's another step in here that's you're going to run the actual template through your spreadsheet, and it's going to pull up all these matching fields. here, and this is where you go ahead and match each one of those fields that you have on your spreadsheet with the iMIS columns or the iMIS fields in iMIS, so that you can make sure you get the information to the proper into the proper spots here. And you can see it starts off with company information, it goes down, and then the individual information is halfway down, goes through. So if you're creating individual records, you can just click directly on this tab here and start with the individual information and start matching those fields directly from that individual field. If you know you're not adding address information, and you just want to add activities, after you put the information in for individuals, you could just go down to the individual activities tab and add the activity information in there. And here's what it looks like. There's drop downs. All of the fields in the spreadsheet will drop down into this, into here, and obviously you just match last name with last. It'll drop down. You grab first name with first, so on and so on. Now, this is important. Any fields that you didn't add